purple clovers, green diamonds, blue horseshoes, and now with yellow moons. That's right. It's the 2024 expansion of the SRD, now in brand new pink. Yes, Wizards of the Coast is letting us know that there will be a brand new SRD when the new Player's Handbook drops later this year. Yeah, we kind of was expecting that. I think that card sort of went without saying that you were going to drop a new SRD. Right? Was there anybody who didn't think they were? It was like, well, they're not going to do a new one. The old one's fine. They just changed it. Why do they have to change it again? Which, yeah, of course, is the question. Now, I don't know the lifespan of a Creative Commons SRD as opposed to, say, a copyright. So maybe it has to be updated every year in order to remain valuable. I mean, it's, so people can still use it. But does it truly need an entire overhaul? And it sounds like it's going to be way bigger than the first one. But this is just me looking at words. So, of course, you know what that means. You don't want to look at words. You want to look at something slightly more interesting than words, where I read the words for you. So let's look at kittens. If I can get the kittens to come up, that is. Why aren't the kittens working? There you go. I should just put the camera on Steve, but he's asleep. All right, so my big question is, of course, because it's going to be bigger. There's definitely the SRD F5.2, which is going to be released within weeks of the release of the 2025 Monster Manual. So we're not even going to see this to sometime next year. So I don't know why you're telling us about this now, other than it's to, warn us, to let us know, oh, yeah, we're changing shit. And it's going to be big. Now, again, I'm an idiot. But the SRD, as is, after the fiasco of last year, was to create a mechanic so people could create stuff for D&D to put on D&D Beyond, or to create third-party D&D stuff going forward, avoiding all the hullabaloo of the OGL, which still was never officially killed. You can still technically use it. And the Black Flag new SRD is up, so you can also use that one too. And this is probably your better option to use that one anyways. So yeah, it has all the basics. It's enough basic stuff that you could have the framework for anything that uses the basic non-copyrighted stuff from the Player's Handbook and DM's Guide. So strength, dex, con, armor class, hit points, levels, saving throws, the bare bones. So you could take it and go, okay, with this, I could write a D&D 5e appropriate adventure, but set it in Jungle Land and just change things to be jungle themed, but it still follows the SRD. So I can still get it on D&D Beyond, which means unless the changes to the new Player's Handbook, Dungeon Master's Guide, Monster Manual are extreme, do we need a new one? Couldn't you just update it? I mean, if it's a constant work in progress anyways, just update it. We don't need a new one. We don't even need an announcement. One line of text. Right? I mean, Daggerheart just released the latest update of the beta test, and it was literally one line of text that they're doing it. Project Black Flag just released their latest update, one line of text. And everybody else, when they release, they go in and they change something. It's like, hey, there's a new update. Maybe they'll, do a change log, but it's not a huge announcement because we're not changing anything major. They're minor tweaks. And isn't that the running theme, right? I mean, it says so. My favorite passage in this is, again, reminding us that nothing's really changing. You don't really need Player's Handbook 2024 because nothing's really changing. It's completely compatible. It says so again. Where is it? I just found it. When the SRD FIT release, will I still have access to the original SRD? Yes. You can continue to create content as you wish using SRD 5.1, but SRD 5.2 will be a separate document. So right there, that means, why do I need this? I can still do what I've been doing over what you wrote a year ago. What's changed that I need a new one? But it does also say specifically, this is completely separate from 5.1. This is a brand new document. It's not a errata to 5.1. We're not just going in and tweaking a few things because something changed in the past year like you would with on any other update. No. This is something completely different. So different that it has a brand new name. It's SRD 5.2. It's much larger and it's modernizing the content. They say right here, it's modernizing the content of the 2024 rules revision. It's a massive update. It's going to provide revised rules. If they're revised, then they're different than 5.1, which means you have two separate SRDs. I could continue to write under SRD 5.1 for the immediate future, or I could write under the SRD 5.2, which of course they are going to subtly or maybe grossly make it clear that they would prefer anything you submit after 2025 Monster Manual to be under number 2. Funny that it's number 2 because, you know, the poop reference. This is similar to what happened with 3 versus 3.5. We didn't really need a 3.5. If you go back and you look at the reason they changed from 3 to 3.5 is like a couple spelling mistakes, a few minor changes, nothing that required a complete change to the paradigm. But 5.3, 5.5 came out, 3.1, whatever you want to call it. And we had, you could still make stuff under 3. The OGL is still out there. But we're not going to actively support 3 anymore. And we would discourage you to contribute product to 3 now that we have 3.5. And, you know, you don't have to buy a brand new Player's Handbook, but you do have to buy a new Player's Handbook. And we all did. We all bought new Player's Handbook when 3.5 came out. And a lot of people like 3.5 better than 3 until you remember they didn't really change that much, guys. It was mostly editing. Wasn't it a spelling mistake that originally started it, you know? So this is the same thing, right? I mean, different wording because the world has changed and legal change and all these other things. But basically, what they're saying is you don't need this, but you do. If the changes are not drastic, then why do we need a brand new one? The SRD is a living document. It can constantly be changed and evolved because the game, the product, is constantly changing and evolving, right? Now, if the changes are minor between 2023 Player's Handbook and 2024, well, 2025 Player's Handbook now, do I need this? No. Because again, all this is the blueprints that I use to build something else. This is the base recipe. This is the generic bread recipe. It's up to me to add the ingredients to make it some spice bread or fruit bread or whatever. But if the differences are drastic, then of course I would need a new SRD because the new SRD would have to reflect the drastic changes between SRD 2023, 2024 D&D, and SRD 2025 through 2027. Which would then, of course, go against but it's backwards compatible and you don't really need to change. Except, of course, the new rules trump the old rules, so you do need to change. This is the same weird logic that they gave us when they announced it initially. And it really hasn't changed. They've just found a new way to say it, to make it more official and legalese. Yeah, there's a new SRD and you don't need it, but you do need it. Now, again, I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe SRD Creative Commons have to be updated every year, and they have to have a new number. But again, wasn't the whole point it's a living document? And because it's a living document, it can be changed subtly. And the whole point was we don't need a drastic change. This is the last player's handbook we're ever going to need. This is the last D&D we're ever going to need. This is the final D&D. This is the final SRD. This is the last we're ever going to need. These are the words that Chris Perkins and Jeremy Crawford continue to say to us. Now, unfortunately, they don't give us a lot of information in the article. It's literally maybe 100 lines. It's a page at best, if you don't count the art and links at the bottom. Maybe not even a page. There's an introduction with them talking about how awesome it is and how proud of it is. Dude, it's not a baby. We're very proud to report that the SRD is healthy and happy and 5.7 pounds. Mom is healthy and happy, and she's ready to get out of the hospital and go home with her new SRD and start her brand new life. It's not a car. You don't have to be proud of it. You don't have to sell us on it. All we needed was that, that one line right here that I'm outlining that you can't see because that's not the page I'm saying. That literally that. All this to say that. We don't need this. Definitely don't need to know how proud, happy, thrilled, and excited you are about a legal document. Nobody is proud, excited, thrilled of a legal document. I worked for a lawyer. I know a lawyer. I never saw him. In all the years I know him, go, woohoo, look at this document. Now we have to get into the conspiracy X-Files of this. And this is where the conspiracy X-Files stuff was going to come. And I touched on it already. And it's the same thing that they, the backwards compatibility. Compatible line, they said. Thank you, Shattered. Yes. Kittens. Yes, I show the kittens up so you don't have to look at the words. So now let's get into the conspiracy before we end this. And it's not a conspiracy. It's not like, oh, spooky back room. It's Wizards of the Coast. We know this is what's going to happen pretty much because it seems to be their standard operating procedure, especially in this area. And it's, to use my sarcasm examples. Okay, yeah. Sure, Dice Tales, you can keep making product under 5.1, but we're not actively supporting 5.1. It's still out there. You can still use it, but we're not going to actively support it. And all product going forward is going to use 5.2. So Artists for Hire Santana, when you release something to us under 5.2, of course that takes precedence over 5.1. And that will continue to take precedence next year and the year after that. And we know most of the people who make third-party product are going to follow 5.2 because that increases their chances of getting it published and us giving them the nod. It's the same thing that happened with 3 and 3.5. Sure, you could still make stuff for 3, but who did? Because there was no money in 3. Everybody was making stuff for 3.5, even though there was really no reason to. Everybody going forward is going to make stuff for 5.2, even though Wizards of Coast claims we don't want to. Plus, it gives them a chance to go into the really extreme controversy, conspiracy, to add a whole bunch of new stuff. And because it is a separate document and not part of the pre-existing living document, technically they can add new stuff. And technically they can say, this is the new rules. They supplement the old rules. This is 5.2. 5.2 is now more important than 5.1. Legally, you now have to follow what's ever in 5.2 if you want to continue to keep producing stuff for us that we're going to actively support. And Lord knows what kind of draconian nonsense they might be able to hide into 5.2 that we don't notice. And it's not like they're not going to do some, shuck and jive to distract us from this. I mean, we got the stupid thing going on with the figure that came out this morning, right? We got the stupid thing last week with the D&D Beyond and the other thing and the other thing. So they've got 4 other things going right now to distract us. And they're counting on us to be distracted by, is it a guy? Is it a girl? Is it Vecna? Is it not Vecna? Is this canon? The same stupid things we're always arguing over. And then while we're arguing over are orcs evil or whatever, they slip in the 5.2 and they can hide whatever they want in 5.2, and they could present a case that this is a brand new document, so it supersedes the 5.1, which is pretty much the exact same thing they tried to do with the OGL in January of last year. Create a brand new document with some really ridiculous new things in it that technically would uphold in a court of law, kind of. I mean, it's still kind of wishy-washy, wiggly, jiggly about what is and is not legal within the confines of the OGL and 5.1 and 5.2. And I'm not a lawyer, but I know plenty of them. And I have worked in the entertainment industry. And there's enough, wiggle room and fuzzy logic in there that Wizards of the Coast is counting on to smoke and mirrors us and distract us. And I bet you there'll be a few more distracting things that happen between now and 2025 before we finally see this the light of day. Remember, this just is the coming attractions. We don't actually know what the real thing says yet. This is just the trailer. This is just them saying, hey, yeah, we're going to give you a new thing. And we're going to just give you enough information to be interested and maybe a little concerned, because then you're going to be talking about it. But then we're going to drop something else, like, I don't know, we'll let Mackenzie Dioms open her mouth again. That always gets you guys upset. Now, obviously, I'm going a little extreme, and the Wizards of the Coast is out to get you, paranoia, but also, am I wrong? It's Wizards of the Coast. It seems to be their standard operating procedure of nonsense, is to smoke and mirrors, shuck and jive, drop a controversy bomb every couple weeks to keep us distracted while they do something far more sinister in the background, but we don't pay attention to it because we're arguing over is that a boy or a girl? It's a girl. It's a boy. It's a girl. It's a boy. It's a horse. No one cares. Anyways, it's out there. I've posted the link if you want to read it. I assume people smarter than me are going to go through it and find more things about it wrong than I did. In fact, I'm pretty sure Tenker already has, and Stephen Glicker already has. So if you want to get somebody who is, more legally than me, I'd check them out too. And I'm sure we're going to talk about this again. This is just the beginning of another round of Wizards of the Coast nightmare. I feel like I have to repeat my PSA to Wizards of the Coast again and just go, guys, just go outside. Just stop and go outside. Just put down the computer, walk downstairs to the first floor, open those glass doors, walk past the statue of Drizzt, and go outside and look at that lovely lake that they built the new offices to face. Just go outside. I want you all to just stop and go outside and stand in the grass. Not my grass, because I want you to get out of my lawn, you damn kids.